surprises from this trip for you?
I thought Cuba was going to be much more regimented, and when I saw how there is some small business owners trying to make money on the side, I even seeing the different people, the different dress, it shows you how naive I am, but I thought people were going to be sort of all dressed in plain clothing, and their housing was going to be all the same.
From another angle, if you had friends that were going to do some travel in the next year or two, why might you suggest they consider doing global education travel rather than just doing tourism?
I really did encourage some of my friends to come on this trip with Tom and I, but they had other commitments. I have a friend who is coming to Cuba in 3 weeks with a travel agency, and I am really dying to see what they do and what her perspective of this trip is. She feels, their trip's going to be way different than ours because it is tourist-based. So why would I suggest Witness for Peace as opposed to tourism? Just because you meet real people and how it is on the ground, how our policies affect their everyday life.
Thanks. If you were having friends that were going to do an educational travel, why might you suggest they consider Witness for Peace over against other agencies? Not to name other agencies, but why
Well, I have to tell you my ignorance. I only know Witness for Peace. I don't know how People to People does it, or Pastors for Peace. I don't know how those agencies do it, but this is my second Witness for Peace trip. I went to Colombia 4 years ago, and I highly recommend them because they give you space to have your own encounters with people, but it is structured enough to feel safe for me.
That's good. Thank you. Do you have can you tell me two things that surprised you on this trip?
The first very much surprising is how big potential of the country should be in the future belong to those changes which coming now with religion as pop coming, with economy, tourism and the sources, global economy as changes coming with American embargo out sign. Those two global things.
Okay. If you were talking to friends about travel, how would you compare educational travel to regular travel? Any advantages to doing educational travel over against regular?
I can say educational travel for me more visible, so it's more keeping, as I understand, in the memory, because as you see, you always keep in your mind better than you read books comparison to the learn from the book.
And if you're talking to people about travel, are there any reasons you'd recommend doing a trip with Witness for Peace, with this group?
Yes, I really do, because at our tour, which will be finished two more days, we see any different aspect of the life up to from the beginning to whole social levels up as we can, and this is not same as you see from the bus, which shows you the city from the window. Absolutely not.
Okay. Thanks. That's good. Can you share a couple of surprises that you've had on this trip?
Oh, surprises on this trip. Well, I came here for the Witness for Peace process, but I was also wanted to see the old cars and to see so many of them converted to diesel. was amazing.
Okay.
And some of the lines of the old cars that had lost their what they used to be, and without any effort in some cases to duplicate what the form of the car used to look like. So that was kind of surprising. But the real purpose, of course, was to learn about the Cuban people and what they're going through. And I came here concerned about their, if the embargo is lifted, if they have a culture, government culture that can handle the changes that'll come. I think it's going to be an avalanche of investment in small businesses, large businesses, and also corruption can come with that if it grows too quickly. Inflation's could go over the top. So surprises, I still feel that way. That opinion hasn't changed.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know what else I can say on that note. Surprises.
Okay.
I've good food here all the time. All the meals have been good. We've gone out. Gosh, it feels like half the time, but we've gone out a lot. Probably not half the time. It's the food is always good. So
Good.
these people know how to cook.
If you had friends that were going to travel in the next year or two, why might you suggest they consider educational travel over against regular tourism?
They'll get more informed on what this country needs and what we can do to help. As I said before, if it just runs wild, it's going to be hard to control, just with what people's nature is, to make money the easy way, the easiest way. It will, of course, be part of its culture, like it is ours.
Regardless of what country, would you recommend to people that they consider tourism travel, education travel? I mean, there's educational travel going to Guatemala, Nicaragua,
Well, one of the great
Vietnam.
things about this was there was an itinerary, a very thought out itinerary and tour. So you didn't wander. Some people like to just wander, but it's a big effort to get to any country and to learn about those people and how they live, and to have people take you there and show you, and make friends with people you wouldn't have met otherwise for good reasons that you're meeting them. I guess I'd recommend tourism, educational travel. Here, that side.
If somebody was going to do educational travel, would you recommend Witness for Peace, going with Witness for Peace, or why might you recommend that they consider Witness for Peace?
Well, they were amazingly organized. The itinerary was back to back. They kept us going all the time. We had some free time, and we had good laughs, and we got to a couple shows too. So it wasn't grueling. It's hot here. Be ready for that. But I'd do it again, and I'd do it again with the same group, any group. But I really enjoyed these people.
Thanks. Thank you. That's good. Can you share just a couple of surprises from the trip for you?
How hot it was. I know they said Cuba would be hot, but I didn't know it would be this hot. How friendly the people were. They were really friendly, especially when I got sick. I really appreciated that. Just how learned everybody was. Like everybody's literate. Those are.
That's nice. That's nice. That's nice. That comes to your mind. Great. Great. Okay, one from another angle. If you had friends who are going to do some travel in the next year or two, why might you suggest they do global education travel rather than kind of regular tourist travel?
Well, it really broadens your horizon. You learn how ignorant you are, which is a good thing, but it's also can make you feel kind of sad. But once you go through it, you appreciate what you have a lot more, and you just feel more. At least I feel more in touch with the world, more like I have a better understanding of everything and how everything fits in history together, and how it influences what we're experiencing now.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And would you, if somebody's going to do global education travel, would you recommend Witness for Peace? And why might you recommend that they consider Witness for Peace as being?
I would recommend Witness for Peace. They've been doing this for a long time, so they've ironed out a lot of the potential pitfalls and kinks. You get to deal with locals, so they're knowledgeable and they can give you a very unique personal perspective of what you're experiencing, the history behind it. You're also then better taken care of, so you're not just thrown into a completely alien environment and left to fend for yourself. You have someone kind of guiding you, which is really helpful, especially if you don't know the language.
Yeah. That's good. Thanks.
All right.
Not yet. Okay. A couple surprises for you from this trip.
Surprise.
Yeah, and there were these two musicians joined by a third who were really pretty good guitarists and singers, and there it was. It was just a glowing little moment.
Okay. Any other surprises?
Well, the other surprise, which isn't quite the same, is there's such an enthusiasm from so many Cubans for the good work they're doing and for the importance of what they're doing and for the concern they have for their fellows. It's just this accepted fact that people are put on this earth to help one another, and I think that's just great.
That's amazing. If you had friends that were going to be traveling in the next year or two, would you think about suggesting to them that they do educational travel over against just regular tourism travel?
Well, I think what they have to understand is they'll probably enjoy educational travel quite a lot. I have friends who are pretty intellectual and are pretty serious-minded, and you can get a lot of fun. I mean, I can't speak for other groups because I'm not sure that I've ever done that kind of educational travel with another group. There's been a lot of travel and not education, except for Witness for Peace.
You say you've done a lot of other travel. How does this kind of compare? How do you feel about, when you think about travel to another country, if there was an educational over against just doing tourism on your own, would you think about doing?
Well, usually when I've done tourism on my own, it really depends. Like if I was traveling with a partner and we were just going places and hanging out, we would see a limited sort of cross-section of the world that we were in, but and we might sign up for one of these day tours. I mean, so that sort of overlaps with what we've been doing. The first time I came to Cuba, I actually did visit a clinic, and I don't remember what else I visited. It was very many years ago. It was before Fidel, and we did that because we had signed up for it,
Yeah. Okay.
But it was just for the day.
Okay. Final thing. If you had friends that were going to do educational travel to Cuba or to Nicaragua, would you recommend that they check out Witness for Peace as one good possibility?
They should certainly check it out. I think it was a pretty hard travel. It was not an easy trip, and of course it was not a very cost trip. And I know that if we had traveled with another tour, we would have paid an extra $1,000, and presumably would have had a somewhat easier trip with $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000, depending on our style.
Okay. Two surprises from this trip.
Any surprises?
Any kind of surprises?
Okay. I'd say the first surprise would be all the knowledge that we obtained regarding why there was a revolution in the late 50s. And what the motivation was. I mean, I didn't know.
Okay.
Simplest things. I didn't learn in high school or in college. There's a dictatorship. And people were living in just the poorest of poorest conditions, with the majority of people living in, situations with no plumbing, no indoor plumbing, no electricity. And how the underpinning of the actual revolution was to somehow transfer the tremendous wealth that was in the hands of for the most part, the U.S. companies, right? The corporations that own the hotels, the restaurants, and a great percentage. I thought I'd heard, and I could be wrong with the number, but something like 60% of the businesses and a great percentage of the land owned by the U.S. And so, the motivation for the revolution being independence, self-determination, social justice. I mean, these aren't some type of themes of some diabolical, communist regime that wants to dominate the world. So the biggest surprise was these are the same kind of values that I would hope that we would, be pushing for in the United States. So the sad part, of course, was that the nationalization of all those companies made a lot of people in the U.S. think, oh, we're being robbed, So that was the biggest surprise. I didn't have a clue. Okay. So I've been living all these years in a situation of almost complete ignorance. And then I guess the second surprise was to see, in reality, the tremendously negative impact of not only the embargo, but this massive blockade. So if the embargo wasn't bad enough, the U.S. contacts, companies around the world and says you cannot trade and you cannot offer any credit. I mean, my gosh, we're basically just stomping our foot on top of the island country and saying we're just going to squash you until you just surrender, roll over, give us back our companies, give us back our land, and all this kind of stuff. So to see the continuing damage caused, it was an eye-opener, and it just gives you such a feeling of an indirect role in an atrocity. Those are my two major learnings, I think.
A whole different angle. If you're talking to friends, how would you compare kind of regular travel and educational travel in terms of benefits, or
if you're talking travel from the perspective of I'm going to have a great time, I'm going to see the sights, I'm going to play, a lot of people like to go and play golf, they go to the beach, they swim, they run, they bike, it's just total self-absorption, and that's great for people who just need a total break away from everything. This trip is it's completely unlike that, because the focus here is on building some type of relationship, either one-on-one or one-on-two or one on a group or whatever, where you're actually learning more about the people. You're being immersed in the culture, immersed in the art, immersed in the history, to such an extent that you come away and think, my gosh, I really have such a deeper understanding and respect for people that I didn't have a clue about before. And so, that educational, truly immersive educational travel, like the Witness for Peace trip, is just in a total different hemisphere of one where you just go, what are we going to do now? We're going to go swimming. Okay, we come back, we're going to go horseback riding. Okay, now come back, now we're going to go scuba diving or snorkeling. That's just a different world. But I would actually tell you, to be honest with you, that I much prefer a vacation where you have that ability to have a relationship with other people. So that's what this trip gives.
Great. Great. And the last question is, Witness for Peace, why would you have them considered over against some other educational group?
First of all, I don't know a tremendous amount of other educational groups, though I have been learning that there are a number of global outreach. And personally, though, I mean, the number of people who would be interested in a trip like this isn't a massive percentage of the U.S. population. Because this is this trip where you're looking outside of yourself and you say, you know what, the focus isn't necessarily on me. It's on others, building relationships, building knowledge, building understanding, building respect. And so, the people that would want to go on a trip like this might tend to be ones that say, you know what, my focus or at least one of my focuses in my life, is on doing something for others from a social justice perspective. So, the best description in my mind is your eyes are open to people on the margins. Your eyes are open to people that for one reason or another don't have a voice. Like the Pope just said just yesterday. And we're called to go outside of ourselves, outside of our comfort zones, to deal with people, and to build relationships with people. And not like, well, we've got all the answers and we've got the money, and here, we'll give you money and that'll solve all the problems. That's not what this trip is all about. It's people who are on the margins. What can I do to change the situation, change the system? Giving someone money, it isn't going to do anything. So you can still have the same system. But if you come away from a trip like this and say, okay, now really, truly think about it, can I contact a congressman? Can I contact a senator? Can I write a letter to somebody? Can I put together an educational video? I mean, can I do something to get the message out? Because the more and more people understand the message, and the more and more they build the relationship, the less and less they're going to have policies that have such a dramatically negative impact on other people. So we can be that channel of communication to other people where they truly come away with a better understanding. To try to learn more, to try to educate themselves, and bottom line, to become less ignorant, like I've been for the last 50 plus years.
Good. Thanks. I appreciate that.
You first.
And were there any surprises? Could you give me maybe 2 surprises from this trip for you?
I was surprised at the amount of deterioration that I noticed around Havana and Cuba in general. I knew it would be bad, but not this bad. And honestly, the openness of the people. I was also told that it was a friendly nation, but every single person I talked to had a smile on their face and wanted to talk back to me no matter what.
Great. From another kind of angle, you're talking to a friend or friends who are talking about doing some international travel. Would you recommend that they consider doing global education travel over against regular?
Oh, 100%. If I would do a trip like this on my own, I would not get nearly as much out of it personally, educationally, and I wouldn't have the expertise of the resources that they have for a program like Witness for Peace.
And that leads into the final question. Would you recommend Witness for Peace over against some other global education travel agencies?
Well, not knowing or not having used any other global education travel agencies, I can't really compare, but I can say that I would highly recommend Witness for Peace, mostly because I do feel that they have a great mission, and I feel that it's more than just lip service. They actually make a difference, and they're honest about their goals, and they follow through.
Oh, fine. Thank you. Could you give me 2 surprises from this trip for you?
I think one surprise would be how the people are able to differentiate between us as U.S. citizens and the U.S. government. I've just felt very warm welcoming, and people don't seem to think of our government and the decisions our government have made when they see us and interact with us. And another surprise, maybe more surface level, would be the heat. It's been very hot.
Oh, fine. If you were talking to friends who are thinking about travel, would you suggest that they consider global education travel over against regular travel?
In global education, kind of something like we've done?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Why?
I think it's just, if you come here and you don't have the education and you're not looking to educate yourself, you're more of a tourist and you're just looking at surface level things. You wouldn't walk away with a better understanding of the people, the culture, the place. And so yeah, I think this is a great way to travel.
Nice. And the final question, would you recommend Witness for Peace as the travel group you'd go with?
I would. I walked away, or I will walk away with a lot of great information, and yeah, I definitely would.
You know what? I highly recommend it because it's so educational trip, more than what I expect. Yes, I will do.
And why would you recommend they consider going with Witness for Peace?
I think I know a lot of people who are community advocates, and I will recommend to them because being here, listen the people, listen the speakers, you have another great perspective about who is Cuba, why Cuba is what Cuba is right now, and yes, I will recommend.
I think the pervasiveness of the collapse of the structures in the city and how it affects
Speak up a little bit.
how it affects all buildings. I was surprised at that pervasiveness. But I'm also surprised at the safety, feeling of safety and crowds on the street. And the seemingly lack of any crime.
Okay, thanks. You're gonna be suspicious. If you had friends who are going to be traveling in the next year, why would you suggest they consider global education travel as a possibility?
I don't know if there's another way to truly experience a country and its people. I think you can come as a tourist and see it, but I don't think you'll feel it and know it and understand its history. So I think that this type of travel is unique in being able to learn much more about the people of the country and what they have experienced and gone through.
Thanks. And why would you suggest they consider Witness for Peace to travel with Witness for Peace?
I think our leaders, Rita and Julita, have a great deal of diversity and knowledge. So not only will you learn about one part of the country and its society, you'll be exposed to dance, music, art, different religions, the institutes that only, I think, people who locally know the area could do for you.
Can you share 2 surprises from this trip?
2 surprises. Well, let's see here. Here's a funny one.
Go ahead.
Surprises. Yeah, the housing in the countryside was a surprise to me. After seeing how, I was shocked at how bad. Okay, there's one surprise there. The housing is so horrible in Havana. That's really shocked me. And it's not everywhere. It's not even most places, I don't think. But we passed one neighborhood, I guess near ours, where the buildings were literally crumbling. And it looked like people were living in there. And then down in old Havana, too, they were literally crumbling. A lot of them were just the facade left, and one of them I saw with inside, you see the stairway went up to the next level of the stairway, and then the next stairway was gone. But they had placed a metal piece as a connector between them so they could continue to go up. I mean, that's really, really dramatic and shocking. And it was just one example. So with the housing, and yet when I went to the country, the houses did seem to be fixed up much better. And of course we heard that the revolution did focus on rural housing, and that seems to have been shown. What we saw, but it did look good.
From a different angle, if you had friends that were going to travel, would you recommend global educational travel to people who are over against vacations or normal kind of travel?
Yeah, but I don't think we'd get many people interested. I mean, people are so horrified to hear the living conditions, just sweating and not air conditioning all the time and not comfortable rooms. Yes, I think it's incredibly beneficial, especially for Americans. We're so isolated on our little island, big island. But we've got to start learning about other people. And this has been incredible, the stuff that we have learned from these people. I mean, just hearing them talk is just different.
Final, would you recommend Witness for Peace as a group travel agency to go with, or why?
Well, it's affordable in the first place. I mean, all the other places are nearly 3 times as much as this. But the meals are great, the connections are great. I mean, I just can't believe the variety of things that we have been able to see and do. And yeah, and it's organized. My goodness, our leaders are just wonderful. They've got connections in the city. There's no better way to go than Witness for Peace.
Thanks. Could you name a couple of surprises from this trip for you?
Well, I knew about the resourcefulness of the Cuban people, but just to sort of see it and see how they're so good-spirited about what they need to do with the resources that they have, and I've just been amazed at the positivity and the graciousness of everyone here.
From a little different angle, if you were talking to people about travel, would there be reasons why you would recommend doing global education travel over against kind of more normal vacation travel?
I feel that traveling this way, we got a pretty balanced or broad perspective from different angles, from journalism, from economy, from social communication, people from the country, people from the city, and I just feel like getting the broad perspective is really important, rather than just seeing the things that tourists see.
Yeah, thanks. And finally, is there any reasons that you would recommend Witness for Peace travel over against some other global agency that does global travel?
I've always admired the spirit of solidarity that Witness for Peace brings all over the continent, and especially to Cuba. And I've been involved in the U.S. side in hosting caravans that have come down for the last 20 years, bringing material and humanitarian aid. So, for me, that's a really important piece to stand in solidarity with a group such as Witness for Peace, who has been on the front lines for so many years.
Thanks.
It's 2 surprises.
I was surprised by how friendly and how safe it seems for being in a very large city. It just, wherever I've been in the city, for being a very large place, it's felt very safe. The people have been very friendly. I'm also struck with the beauty of Havana and the willingness of people to share their lives with us. It's been really nice.
Why would you promote global education?
There's just a lot of reasons that I like and would promote global education. I think it's a way to get to know the country, it's a way to get to know the people. I always find I learn a lot about myself. You get to see see more than the surface, more than just, it's a beautiful place, but more than just see the external beauty. You get to kind of find out what life is like, how it's lived, how people survived, amazed at how well the country functions and has done in the midst of the embargo, how well they have survived the embargo and have, it seems like, have been supportive of each other and managed to pull off life together. And another surprise is how much money it looks like the government has put into education, healthcare, and the arts, and how important that is to the people. And I just don't see all the attention to individualism and individualism getting ahead. It's like how the focus is more on how people survive together.
Why would you support
going, your friends, how would you support your friends going with Witness for Peace, choosing Witness for Peace as a group?
I think on this trip, Witness for Peace has done a wonderful job of organizing, of connecting us with people. We were going to learn about education, and I was struck today. We visited first graders, we visited sixth graders, we visited high school, and now we visited college. We visited the whole spectrum. They also, part of this was to focus on healthcare, and we focused, it seems like, on the whole spectrum of healthcare, from the local doctor, the intermediate, to the hospitals. We've heard from the local doctor, we've heard from the director of a hospital, we've talked to the founder of a hospital, and yeah, I'm impressed. It seems like they have worked to get to know people within the country and within the city, until they got just wonderful connections of helping us connect with artists. And my sense is, it feels like they don't have a professional relationship with the people that they have used from here as our educators. They have a personal relationship with these people. They are respected and liked by the people that they use to educate us, share with us.
Thank you, Dale.
A couple of surprises on this trip.
I think to me, the whole trip was so enlightening, and there were so many surprises. I was surprised to find out about certainly my perspective on Fidel, and the revolution has it's really opened my mind to think in a different direction, and I'm going to go back home and look into it and research, and I guess I thought, like a lot of people, that Fidel was this oppressive leader. I didn't really have feeling for him. I knew that, being on the left, I knew that people were in favor of what he had done. I thought maybe they had kind of romanticized what he had done. But being in Cuba and seeing what's happened with healthcare and education, and I see that he really cares for the people, and he really tried to do some good things for them. So that was a big surprise for me. The countryside, believe it or not, was another big surprise. I thought that I'd see a house here and there. When I saw the little villages and the resiliency of the people, I never expected to witness that, and that's really been very touching to see how their day-to-day lives, how they try to compensate for what they don't have, and the spirit. I hope that they will, they'll be able to determine what they want in their government, and then not have all these outside influences trying to shape them or reshape them.
Thanks.
Every day was something.
Every day?
Every day was like, oh my goodness. I look at the itinerary, I'd say, okay, well, I'm here and here, but then it was like we get there, and it was like this 4th of July, it was like, that's the way it was for me. With so many things, it was just so eye-opening. And I do what I would be seeing and feeling and thinking, just no idea.
Cool, good. From a little different angle, if you were talking to friends about travel, would you recommend, or why might you recommend educational travel over against regular travel, or would you?
When I look, and I see how these trips to Cuba are advertised, I know that they're not offering what, this trip has offered us. They're trying to sell tourism. This is paradise, come here, swim, they'll take them to certain sites, they'll try and maybe sugarcoat certain things, and maybe people will think, oh, I've been to Cuba, I found out this and that, but they're not really going to have that Cuban, the experience that we are having. So I would recommend to people, if they could do something, get on an educational tour, that would be so much more valuable for them, definitely. I feel that here we got to experience the culture, the music, the dance, the art. Oh my goodness, the art. And yet we had like the Cuban experience. We really were able to have a look at things from a Cuban perspective. So definitely would recommend an educational tour.
Thanks. Would you recommend traveling with Witness for Peace? I mean, there are a number of groups that do educational travel. Why might you suggest they ought to consider Witness for Peace?
Because I think from what I see, from what I'm seeing, Witness for Peace, because of their contacts, because of the respect that the community has for them, and even I would say the government has for them, and the people who are leading the delegation, the people who are working here, that they can really get us into places that tourists is not going to go, and enable us to, the speakers that we've had, to learn about the economy and popular education, and it's just, I don't think there's anybody else out there that would offer a trip like this. I think it's very unique. Yeah, I would say travel with Witness for Peace.
Yeah.
But if I said that to people, I don't know if they buy into it. Because I told people before I came here that I'm going with Witness for Peace. I'd see that little, glaze, eyes kind of glaze over. Oh, Witness for Peace, But they know about that I'm involved in, that I'm a peace activist on Staten Island. So they're not really shocked, but I guess they kind of wondered. So I think that, I think that's definitely what I believe that we've had this wonderful experience because we went with this wonderful group of people.
Thanks, that's great. That's great. Yeah, you just a couple of surprises from the trip.
Oh my. I was surprised by how thoroughly the blockade has actually influenced every aspect of people's lives. I mean, I read about it and I thought I understood, but until you start talking to the people themselves and how it has influenced literally everything they do on a daily basis, I didn't really understand completely. Anything else? I guess I would say I'm surprised how close we've become so fast.
If you had friends who are thinking about traveling this next year, would you suggest to them they might do global educational travel rather than regular kind of tourist travel? And
definitely.
What would you?
I think that travel of any kind makes us world citizens, which makes us a closer-knit community, and I think educational travel just compounds on that. And I think I've enjoyed my time with Witness for Peace and would definitely consider other delegations in the future. And so I think that I can now speak to people about what that experience is really like, and I would highly recommend it.
Thanks. And you've answered this, but why would you suggest they might consider Witness for Peace?
They have a long track record of running delegations, and I think that really shows. They know how to not only prepare the educational aspects of the trip, but they prepare you mentally and physically as well in ways that, if you aren't deeply entrenched in the country where you're going, might not come across as easy.